This is a clip from one of our recent live streams. We stream live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. As a reminder, this is our second channel, Fish the Moment Live. Our main channel, Fish the Moment, is where we have all of our highly edited YouTube content. We spend 30 to 40 hours a week producing one YouTube video that's posted on the Fish the Moment channel every Friday at 7 a.m. Central Standard Time. These videos include on-the-water footage of us actually fishing, as well as detailed instruction on how to use electronics, fish offshore, and a lot of other great information. Make sure to check out the Fish the Moment channel if you enjoy the content on this channel. Welcome back to another Fish the Moment live stream. Tonight, Randy and I are going to be talking about some of the top mistakes anglers make when practicing for tournaments. Randy has 30 years of tournament experience to share with us, and we're going to break it down with you guys in terms of how to improve your practice fishing, how to stop wasting time, and also how to maybe perform better in tournaments by improving your practice strategies. Randy, how's it going tonight?
Doing good, man. Just dragging a little bit. I've been practicing this week down at Grand Lake for the Toyota series.
We're going to be covering 4 different mistakes that anglers make when practice fishing for tournaments. And this is, we're going to be kind of talking about in all different contexts. So most guys probably practice for local tournaments, just fun fishing tournaments, stuff like that. And in a lot of cases, guys practice the weekend before the tournament, or maybe they fish even a month before the tournament. And then there's other guys who get to fish right before the tournament, maybe the day before, they take off a day of work, or maybe the tournament's on a Sunday and they can fish on Saturday. And then there's also the guys who fish maybe multi-day tournaments where they can practice 2 or 3 days. So we're going to kind of cover all those different styles and try to give some tips for everyone. But the first mistake that we see a ton of anglers make while they're practice fishing is that they try to win practice. What do we mean by this? Well, basically, they try to go out and catch as many big fish in practice as they can, or even if they're not catching fish, they're trying to get as many bites in practice as possible and shake off as many good fish as they can, because they think the more fish they can shake off, the more bites they get, the better their tournament day is going to be, which is definitely not always the case, Randy. You kind of want to maybe tell us a story or give us an example of that?
Oh man, I learned that lesson long ago, and that's why I usually have very poor practices because I don't stay around in an area long enough to see what's there. But that's probably one of the biggest mistakes that anglers make, on a lot of different levels, just beginning anglers, medium level, and even some pros. And I think it's a combination of it's maybe it's ego a little bit. I mean, there may be a little bit, I don't want to say laziness, but there may be like a hesitation, like to cut your hooks off or something like that. And then a lot of it is just not understanding, how that's going to affect the fish. There's a lot of different elements involved with that. And I can tell you guys right now, as far as winning practice goes, sticking fish, it even goes beyond that. It goes beyond sticking fish because, in my opinion, just simply showing a bait or shaking a fish off is a negative to the fish. I don't even like to shake fish off. I mean, one of the biggest things that I learned from Clun years ago, and Clun doesn't shake fish off, he sticks everything, but he doesn't stay around in an area long. And one of the things that he taught me long ago is that you sort of have to be able to mentally pre-fish an area. And you've got to have confidence that you can roll into that area cold in the tournament day and possibly catch them. A prime example is down at Grand Lake today. I mean, some of the stretches, like, say I pulled in on a stretch and I caught a fish and there was quite a bit of water up in front of me. I just pulled the trolling motor up and left. I didn't even, a lot of people would maybe keep working down through that bank and just see how many bites they can get to see how good it is. That's a huge mistake. I'll figure that out in the tournament. I'll find out how many fish are in that bank on the tournament, because what happens is it's a negative any way around. Let's say, for example, today I caught one, and then say I went down another 20 yards and caught one or didn't catch one. If I caught one, that's one fish that I'm not going to catch in the tournament. And if I didn't catch one, that undermines my confidence. So after you catch one like that, if you've got some similar targets and similar cover, just move on through that area. Don't even let them see the bait. That's a big part to it. But I see guys all the time. I mean, some guys have a reputation for winning practice. I mean, I'm not going to mention any names, but I mean, I've got a handful of names I could come up with that every tournament, you talk to him the first day of practice, I got 20 pounds. I caught 30 keepers today. And in the tournament, they'll catch one or two, and it's like they wonder what happened. And you think that after that happening repetitive over and over again, that they would sort of, draw the arrows to what's going on there. So, like I said, it's not as simple as, just simply not sticking fish in practice. Because here's another thing you have to consider. Let's say if you're fishing a lake that's got a 15 or 16-inch minimum length limit on it, and you're getting a lot of bites. Obviously, you sort of need to know, if you're catching keepers or not. Because a 14-incher feels the same as the 16-incher. If you flip a jig in there and a 14-incher swimming out with it, you can't tell the difference. So in a situation like that, yeah, you might want to lean on them a little bit harder, just to get a feel for that. But everything is like a feel. It's like just a matter of how much pressure the area you can support. Here's what I'm talking about. If you're fishing like a vast grass bed, a big open flat grass bed with a lot of cover, obviously you can lean on them heavier because there's a lot more area there. There's a lot more, it's a bigger group of fish. But if you're going down through a row of boat docks or some isolated laydowns, and there's a dock every 50 feet or there's a laydown every 100 feet, you can't go and get bites and shake fish off and pick fish off of every piece of isolated cover. And one of the biggest mistakes or things I can give you guys is just, you see guys, thrown in there with no hook and they're shaking the fish off. Don't even do that, because like I said, that's going to spook those fish. I bet that here's like a statistics I can give you. I would say out of every 50 bass I shake off in practice, I bet I don't catch 2 or 3 of those bass in the exact same spot when I come back there in the tournament. Now, whether they've moved or I spooked them, it's hard to say, but yeah, it's there's a lot of variables involved to that topic.
If you enjoy our videos and want a free and easy way to support the channel, head to our website, fishthemoment.com. Then head to the Support Fish the Moment page. Here you'll find our Tackle Warehouse affiliate link. If you click this link, then check out on Tackle Warehouse, we'll get a small percentage of your sales. The way this works is that we have a special link with Tackle Warehouse. So if you bookmark this link on your web browser and then click it every single time you visit Tackle Warehouse, you'll be supporting Fish the Moment with every bait you buy. Yeah, for sure. I think that one of the most fascinating things I ever heard from a guy tournament fishing is Brian Thrift. I love following Brian Thrift fishing. He's awesome. What he always says is he sets a hook on every single fish in practice, and if he doesn't want to get a bite, he just doesn't throw on the area. Now, Brian is an expert with his electronics, and this is something I used to do when I tournament fished a lot back in the day. I'll just give you guys one example. I don't want to spend too much time talking about my tournament experience, but just kind of give you a general idea from Lake Dardanelle, where I won a college regional championship on Lake Dardanelle back in, well, it was like 5 or 6 years ago. And in that tournament, the places I was catching my fish, I actually never made a cast on most of them during my practice days. What I would do is go around with my electronics, and I would graph, for example, an offshore brush pile or an offshore area out here that looked nice. And a lot of times you would see bait fish there, you'd see fish on the graph, things like that. And what I tried to do in my practice days was graph as much as possible, and I knew that there was going to be a lot of other anglers fishing these offshore spots. So instead of sitting up there and making as many casts as I could on these spots trying to get bit, what I did was I tried to find as many high percentage looking areas where I could see fish on my electronics, see the bait fish, see everything that was happening. And then during tournament day, I just started rolling all these spots and running them. And what this did is it, one, gave me high confidence that every spot I pull up on, there's a potential I could catch fish. I didn't have this preconceived notion they weren't going to bite. And I've also learned over the years, for example, I've fished a brush pile like right here on Lake Dardanelle one day in practice, caught a bunch of fish, and then came back next day and didn't catch them in the tournament, or vice versa. I've actually gone, not got a single bite out of a brush pile in practice, came back during the tournament day, and I caught 15 pounds of fish out of one brush pile. This happens all the time. And I just got to a point where I didn't bother fishing anymore with these certain spots, certain areas. I just rotated the areas I was able to find, and I would try them with different baits, different things during the tournament day to figure out what was going to get them to bite that specific day. And that's what Brian Thrift does a lot in his tournaments, is he uses his electronics to identify the fish, do all that stuff, never even makes a cast on any of the spots because he knows the fish are there. And if he does make a cast, he'll catch a fish to see what size they are. But then, for example, let's say you're going down a stretch of ledge and you find that there's a little rocky spot here and you pull up and catch a 6-pounder. Well, I'm not going to fish every other rocky spot that's over here to see if there's more 6-pounders on them. Instead, I'm just going to graph for all the rocky spots. Then I'm going to go try to find a new pattern. I'm going to go figure out something different. Maybe I come back in here and start flipping some shallow lily pads or reeds or something. If I get a few bites on a stretch of reeds, then I'm out of there and I'm going to try to find more stretches of reeds that are similar. And I'm going to try to develop a lot of patterns, because even if you pull up here and catch 18 pounds of fish off of these ledges, let's say in practice day. Well, let's say that the day that you fished this spot, the current was ripping on Lake Dardanelle, or the wind was blowing, or there's a lot of factors that could be coming in. Let's say, though, for example, the current is going strong. That happens a lot in Dardanelle. Well, in this stretch of ledges, I know just from experience, when the current is flowing over 25,000 cubic feet per second, you can hammer them right here. If it's not running at all, it is a terrible time to try to get bit here. You can drag a shaky head around and get a bite or two randomly, but instead, it's better to head up to the shallow water areas and try to get a few bites flipping or something like that. So it's a lot of times the conditions will change from tournament day or from practice day to tournament day as well, and that just messes you up. So all in all, a lot of times if you're catching 18 pounds of fish in practice, you're hurting yourself because you're doing two things. One, obviously, like Randy said, you're sticking the fish, but also if you only have a limited time to practice, you're restricting the amount of information you can collect during that day. I find that I would much rather get one good bite on a pattern and then try to find a new pattern as opposed to catch 5 fish off of one pattern. And what do you think about that, Randy?
I agree completely on that. I mean, another thing about thrift there, I mean, back when I was fishing FLW with thrift, you ought to heard at the pre-tournament meetings, people would they'd call him a sandbagger like crazy because he never would be catching them in practice. You talk to him anytime in practice, oh man, I'm just not catching them. I've had 1 or 2 bites. But that's the way that good fishermen are. Good fishermen, they don't know what's out there. They don't know what they're going to catch because they don't stay in an area, like I said, long enough to know how many bites you're going to get. And I just think that that's one of the most overlooked things that we're talking about there. Just like you said, the conditions change every day. Just like we were talking about the current there, every single day is a different day on the water. I don't care, if the days are similar. Bass are moving all the time. They're very seldom stationary. They move not only with weather conditions, but they move with fishing pressure. They move with light, intensity as far as how much light's coming into the water. A lot of different things move them in there. The best thing that you can do when you're talking about practicing like this is you just want to get confidence in your area and try to get past that. It's a need we all have. We all want to go into an area and get a bunch of bites, build our confidence up and say, man, I shook off 10 right down this bank here, and it gets you feeling good. It gets your confidence up, but you have to transcend and grow past that and to be able to fish those areas cold. And once you get confidence in doing that like that, your tournament successes go way up. And not only your tournament successes go way up, but your confidence on the water remains high during competition, because anytime you're dealing with the unknown and you don't know what's ahead of you, your confidence is higher versus if you went in there the day before and rolled down through a good looking area and never got a bite. So that's the whole thing. Bass fishing is such a mental game, and practice is it's a huge mental game in practice.
Thanks for checking out the video. If you made it this far, we'd really appreciate if you left a like on the video. It helps us out with the YouTube algorithm and gets these videos out to more people. Also consider subscribing. It's free and it lets you get notifications of every single one of our videos that we upload daily. Finally, remember to check out the main Fish the Moment channel, where we actually have on-the-water fishing footage as well as detailed graphics on electronics, offshore fishing, bass behavior, and a lot of other great information. Thanks for checking out the video, and we'll see you on the next one.